of Arab students, about 30 years back, who followed the advice of the Quran, which says, "Fas'alu ahla zikri in kuntum la ta'lamun." In Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse 43, and Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 7, which says that if you are in doubt, ask the person who is knowledgeable. So they collected all the material and all the data given in the Quran and the authentic hadith dealing with embryology, and they presented it to Professor Keith Moore. At that time, in the early 1980s and the late 1970s, Professor Keith Moore was one of the highest authorities in the field of embryology. He was head of the Department of Anatomy in the University of Toronto in Canada. And they translated all these verses of the Quran and the Hadith and presented to him and asked him for his comments. He said that most of the things mentioned in the Quran are in perfect conformity with modern embryology. But there are a few things which I cannot say that they are right. Neither can I say they are wrong because I myself don't know about it. And one such thing is the first two verses of the Quran. Surah Iqra, Surah Alaq, chapter 96, verse 1 and 2, which says, "Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq. Khalaqal insana min alaq." Read, recite, proclaim in the name of thy Lord who created the human beings from something which clings, a leech-like substance. So Professor Keith Moore said, I do not know whether the embryo in the initial stages looks like a leech or not. So he went into the laboratory and under a very powerful microscope observed the early stages of an embryology, the early stages of an embryo, and compared it with a photograph of a leech. And he was astonished at the striking resemblance. And later on, when a written question was asked him regarding embryology from Quran and Hadith, he told him, it's an early part of 1980s, but 30 years back, he said that if you would have asked me these questions 30 years before, I would not be able to answer more than 50% because embryology is a branch of medicine which I developed recently. And he said, I have got no objection in agreeing that this book is divine and Prophet Muhammad is the messenger. The Quran says in Surah Tariq, chapter 86, verse 5 to 7, does not man think from what is created? Does not man know from what is created? He is created from a drop, emitted from a space between the backbone and the ribs. What does the Quran mean by saying that human beings have been created from a drop, emitted between the backbone and the ribs? Today, after science has advanced and embryology has advanced, we have come to know that the genital organs in the human beings, the testicles in the males and the ovaries in the females, in the embryonic life, when the child is in the womb of the mother, it originates from a space from where the kidney is present, between the backbones and the 11th and 12th rib. Later on, it descends down. In the female, the ovary goes to the true pelvis, and in the male, it descends down lower through the inguinal canal into the scrotum. But even in the adult life, after the ovaries and testicles have descended, yet they receive the blood supply and the nerve supply from the same space.